This is the INO podcast where we all about healthy debate, honest conversation, and talking bare junk. Information, knowledge, observation. Speaking of school, you had said maybe we was talking trashy about. You had your thoughts on 11 plus. I know 11 plus is coming up, and I want to know what your thoughts were on 11 plus. You didn't want to tell me at the time.
I don't.
But
okay.
You might know.
Okay, so
what I mean,
I want us to take our emotions out of it. I do absolutely think that the education system needs to be reformed. But a lot of people are not coming from a rational, well-thought-out place. A lot of people are coming from, and I know that there can be backlash because I saw this going on Twitter as well. Somebody said it already, is people that if they didn't go to a certain school, they feel a certain way about it and feel that it's a whole thing against certain people. But in my opinion, there always has to be separation. And in like any stage in your life, if you're doing something for a period of time to move on to the next step, there has to be testing. Yes, there can be continuous assessment. But if you assessing me the whole time and I'm doing okay, and then you leave me in a room to write some stuff and I can't get it done, then did I really actually like learn anything? Or is it just because he was kind of over me or because I had like an extended period of time? Like, if you can't do it in a period of time, then maybe you actually can't do it that well. And I'm saying this as a person who went to 2 of the top schools and did absolutely nothing. I don't have any issue with saying that. But it's because I am not a regurgitator either. I am a creative learner. So the schools I went to didn't benefit me either. At the end of the day, you have to figure out like how you can convey this information to children at different levels or with different ways of processing things, as opposed to they went to this school and they went to this school and they went to this school. And I also feel like I don't have any kids, which is why I always in this debate with people who are always like, well, how you gonna say that? But my thing is, if I have a child and my child gets to 11, first of all, if your child got to 11 and essentially cannot read and write, like, how we get here? So how you gonna be mad about like the results of this exam if we get to this point and we didn't realize that the child is not doing what we think they should be doing, 1 and 2. And then if my child doesn't have a certain, let me use IQ as opposed to ability level or whatever. I don't know what the jargon is, but if my child goes to a certain school and I say, well, Tommy, you can't read and write too good or whatever, but like, what are you interested in? Let me figure out what we could actually find for you to do in life. But I feel like a lot of people literally give up on their own children and then are mad that society basically kind of joining to give up on them, because you can feel, for me, I feel like no matter what school I went to, there was only one school for me and I went to it. So maybe that's not fair, but I feel like the type of person I am, whatever school I went to, I would have had school pride. So if you went to a certain school and you didn't feel like your school was the best school for whatever reason, I feel like that's a you problem. I feel like that's a your all problem, as opposed to allowing people to decide you went to a good school, you went to, is a weird, and again, I'm not an educator or anything. I just feel as if a lot of people, the discussion when it's had is about the school that they specifically went to, as opposed to the education system need a whole overhaul, and that the common entrance is like the big bad wolf, as opposed to there has to be separation at a certain level. Because if you literally cannot send your child that get 100% to the, and there are people who get literally 0. My mother has been in education in the common entrance. You cannot send those children to the same school, put them in the same class and be like, everybody can just do, I should not have been doing the CXCs that I did. And I went to 2, I should not have been doing those CXCs because that's just not how I was functioning.
So wait, so you would name your child Tommy?
I wouldn't. Tommy Pickles. What, yes, Tommy? Because I grew up in the 90s.
That is what I gathered.
I would name my child Tommy.
No, okay,
but Taryn, like, all right, and I think like we a lot of people have this conversation and not like, I think we do not acknowledge our own privilege, and the reality is there are thousands, tens of thousands of 11-year-olds in Barbados, 10-year-olds in Barbados about this exam. There's like 5,000 top positions.
Yeah.
Like, let me be generous and say there are 5 top schools. I assume a year group is kind of how much? I said 1,000. How much has been a year group?
I have no.
There are 1,000 people that went to Commerce when I was at Commerce.
Yeah,
so a year group was going to 30 people. So 30 by
a class going 30 people.
There's been like 600 people.
30 by 5 because it would have been 1/8 to 1/8.
Right, so about 600 people.
Yeah.
150, sorry.
150. Right, say 150. Right.
150.
I think about a whole primary school.
So right, so but let me be very generous and say there are 1,000 top students. The system does not benefit anyone else, except for those 1,000 students. So why do you have a system that revolves around only the top students? That doesn't make so.
But that's why I'm saying. So like when you done do the exam, it's like, all right. So we have done the separation. But like, what about the rest? So the whole system needs overhauling. But I think that people is focused too much on like this exam situation and like the placement situation, as opposed to we have established that these 1,000 students did XYZ. What about the other 4,000? What are we doing here with them now? Because at the end of the day, my aunt used to say this about me and my cousin who are the same age, who went to 2 different schools. She'd be like, well, at the end of the day, a school is a school and we're going to do the same CXCs. Right, that's the problem. Because we shouldn't be doing the same CXCs. Like, we shouldn't be... If we started one way, like, unless we... Like, how am I... If I got literally, I don't know, 0 or 10 or whatever, how am I catching up to get to the point to do the same CXC at the same age as somebody who it just doesn't...
Okay, so just to understand, for me, just as a summary, do you believe that 11 plus should be abolished or shouldn't be?
Whew. I do not have the answer to that. That's the honest truth. That's the honest truth.
So your argument is more about educational reform as opposed to 11 plus itself. That people focus too much on 11 plus. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to make understand what you were saying. And
I understand the classism and the whatever else that is tied into it. Because you definitely can see, like, when you go to certain schools, like, there's a PTA that will do stuff to help the school, to help their children, as opposed to other places where maybe the parents don't have those resources. So, like, all of that ties into it. But I just feel like people definitely focus too much on this one day that they went and do this exam, then get back the result. Their mother, father, grandmother was disappointed in them, and then they have held on to that forever and ever. And so every time we talk about the common interest, it's not even about the children. It's just when people feel that one better than everybody else. And I'm just like...
You say so, right? But you could also say the reverse. There are people who one day they set the common interest and they pass the QC common merit St. Michael's and they hold off on that.
No, for sure. But can I ask y'all a serious question? I definitely know people like that because I went to school with a couple people. But do you feel like... this is I guess a very privileged panel of judges here, but do you feel like the majority of us are like that, or do you just know that there are some people that's like, you chill? Like, even for me, like, you overdoing it. Yes, we're really happy we went to this school, but like, dude, like, just give it a break. I think that like you meet a person that may be like that, and then at the same way that people is class up, people that went to lower schools in one way, then I feel like people that go to right. That you don't deserve that. You don't deserve these same things. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Right. Actually, that in my actual everyday life, that's a very funny situation because you know what I love to do? Meet people and have them ask me what I do. And then automatically be surprised at the schools I went to. Because my favorite default about anything, whenever I'm having a discussion, if I don't know about it, I know I could be an expert or whatever. I did study things, but it doesn't matter. It's always tell people I do nails. That's how I start the conversation because it automatically determines the sort of respect that I'm going to get. And people, when they find out the things that I have learned and the qualifications I have, they're like, oh, well, I didn't think that. And it's like, tell me why you didn't think so. Tell me why.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that you just said in the last 5 minutes. So let me dissect. To me, it sounds as though your issue is with educational reform. But what it sounds to me, though, is that if people are judging you based off of the school that you went to, it speaks more to the culture than it does the education reform. True. You could reform the educational structure where you could totally revamp the entire thing, and then people will still stigmatize if they are accustomed stigmatizing certain schools and other schools. So my thing is, like, if you really want to stop people from walking with this, carrying this load of like, I went to this bad school or whatever, and people will judge me because of that, then I think it's more a cultural issue than it is a reform issue.
But the culture developed because of the system. It's not the system developed because of the culture. So the reason why people was, you just said yourself, you went to a bad school. What is a bad school?
Right.
That idea comes from the system because we give people a get 20 a certain school. When in reality, if we give, they just always say, if the system was, there are 5 grammar schools, whatever you want to call the 5 top schools, right? And then after that, you're zoned. So all schools are not equal under those 5 top schools. Well, of course, you want to get you 5 top schools. But in reality is, there's no more bad school. Because I could sit down and could name schools that you would consider worse than Foundation. But I personally think I said Foundation is a top 5 school.
Right. So, okay. My thing is if you got 20% and you went to a certain school, I don't think that that's a bad school because all the people there went get 20%. Just because you got 20% doesn't necessarily speak to your value or how the value of the school per se.
But as I say, what are we doing?
No, right. So what I'm saying is the calling that a bad school, that's not necessarily something that the ministry would do. That is something that we would do.
Right,
We determine the hierarchy of where we say the cutoff point is for what is a good school, and then after that, anything beyond foundation and lodge is bare junk.
No, you lost me there. Like you had me in the first half, but we can't be determining it when we can see the marks that take you there. I can tell you 20% is not a good grade because 20% is not a good grade. If you with that good grade qualify for this school and everyone in that school is equal, I am not incorrect for assuming that school is a 20% school because that's where you put in the children that get 20%.
Right. 20% in an exam does not speak to your aptitude overall.
Absolutely correct.
Right. So hold on a minute. What I'm saying is the main issue that we have, I believe, is when we look and see that because somebody did poorly, which because 20% is poor, 20% in an exam, whether it be standardized testing like 11 plus or whatever, that we then assume that the person is going to a school that is for the lower people, etc., as opposed to a school that more speaks to other people's skills and talents, etc. So say somebody got 20% at 11 plus, but then they eventually went on to do metalwork and woodwork, etc. But I then say that's a bad school. No, it's a school for those that are not necessarily gifted in the way that we understand, but more gifted in like metalwork, woodwork. But the fact that we label it a bad school, that doesn't come from the ministry per se. It doesn't come from the system per se. It comes from the way that the people and the culture perceive that school to be, which it should not be so.
I understand what you're saying.
It's
right?
both. It's but two things can be true at the same time.
Right, but no one looks at this system from the CSCs that these students produce. No one does that. Everyone looks at what the 11 plus students do. That is where we made that. That is where the culture comes from. The culture does not, because reality is we only celebrate the children that got enough CSCs when it comes to scholarships and exhibitions, and then coming out to 3 schools. So does that mean that all the other schools equal? It doesn't, because the culture is not based on CSC results. The culture is based on the entrance.
Right.
It would be very nice to say, well, Parkinson will produce the best metalwork students in the Caribbean. No one gives a fuck about that, though.
But
everyone only gives about the entrance.
That example also is part of the problem, because why automatically, because I got 20% when I was 11, should you decide that I need to do metalwork?
That is one example.
That's an example, but I'm saying that that's what people always default to as well. I just feel like if you got 20% in maths when you were 11 years old, when you go into first form, all right, we back to this math situation. We can't move on. And that's the problem. Like we like the curriculum, as far as I know, is the same through. And it's like, but if you get 20 and you get 100, there's no way that we could just come and just hop on this new curriculum and move on. It has to be a case of, well, we got to figure out where you get this 20%. Right. And we keep going, because you can still become a doctor eventually. But the thing is that you got this CXC by the time you're 16 to get to UE, to do this, the timeline is really also a bit of a problem. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and again, so the whole thing is educational reform. Like everything just need.
I think too. Like we just put too much. There's so much of a bad taste in your mouth about somebody stopping down. I feel like repeating should be such a blessing, because like you should, if you do not get the work and you repeat, you should be able to be a top class.
I know, like every year that I didn't start down, it was like there might be a God for real.
Because
I was like, Jesus,
right? But that's pressure. But really, you just don't see in fourth form, which ain't benefiting you at all.
Yeah, I was not doing what I was supposed to do. And not stopping down, and I was very confused.
My whole thing about the 11 plus, if anything about the 11 plus I have an issue with, is the fact that, again, the fact that it happens at 11 years old, I think that doesn't really make much sense to me. The thing about standardized testing, though, is that's just an aspect of life. If you want to get ahead in something, people are going to weigh your skills off of some kind of metric, and learning that from an early age, I think, is beneficial. So my thing is 11 plus isn't really a bad thing. If people want to get rid of 11 plus because of the stigma that comes with persons that don't do well at 11 plus, as I said before, I think we need to have a sit down and talk about the fact that I don't think that the stigma is going to go away. It's just going to manifest itself in different ways if you were to reform, if stigma is the problem. Right?
Do you think that... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, personally, I feel like the issue is what the schools do. So, like, when your aunt said you do the same CSCs, like, I personally feel like in my perfect world, if I was to become the almighty, you would got like the 5 grammar schools or whatever, these top schools. And that's where you go for your quote-unquote traditional education, your math, your whatever. But then I feel like when I taught at Parkinson for a couple of terms, I taught DJing, B. I thought like that was a dope part of the music program. They did agriculture. There was like cosmetology courses. Like, why aren't there like schools for that? So like, what's wrong with okay, you do your common entrance, you do first and third form, and then like there's a school from 4th to 6th that is just like business and cosmetology.
Yeah, I even think that the grammar schools need more diversity too. For example, when I went Comair, I had to, and which to me is egregious when I think back on it, right? I had to do a language, and I had to do either history or geography. And thinking back on that, I'm like, why? What if I don't like?
I could do one worse, please.
What is that?
At Queen's College, they changed the sense, right? At QC, you could not do chemistry by itself or physics by itself.
You had to do maths.
No, you had to do both. You cannot do either by itself.
By itself or maths.
No, you had to do math. Math was
compulsory.
You mean
CSC?
Your CSCs and not like
you cannot do biology, physics or chemistry by itself. So if you do not like biology, like you are bad at biology, so you don't want to do biology. Your 2 subjects not gone because you have to do 2 other sciences.
Right. So even the people that are bright, like for example, brightness doesn't equate to interest. There are a lot of people that are bright that would prefer to do something like the cosmetology, woodwork, etc.
Actually,
and then they end up, stuck in this thing because it's a grammar school. So even the grammar schools need to be reformed too, I think.
I'm not trying to, be a victim or anything, but the reverse happened to me where I was rejected from Polytechnic. People told me that I had too many qualifications. I was like, that one?
Yeah, that was my first time I heard that.
Yeah, that's my first time I heard that.
I had to go to a private cosmetology school because Polytechnic was like, ma'am, what do you mean? And I was like, but I just want curly little hair.
So wait, sorry, when was this? What year was this?
I took a year off after 6th form.
So 1912.
Jeez.
I took a year off after 6th form to decide what I maybe wanted to do. And I actually didn't decide on anything. I just knew that I had certain natural skills. And I was like, well, I might as well figure out how I can make money immediately. Because I definitely knew that going to UE was going to waste my time. Because I didn't, if you don't know, or if you don't have an idea, like you, as we have probably seen, many people go to UE and spend 7 years at UE, and then it's like, so tell me about this degree that you still don't have.
Exactly.
And I was just, I don't want to do that. So I just was like, immediately, I want work. I want to do the things I like to do, and I've been doing that ever since.
And then the degree that you don't use, because 50% of people that I know that went UE don't use their degree
at all. The managers are managing each other.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching the INO podcast, Information, Knowledge, Observation. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you soon.